Hi guys, Paolo here, and today I want to talk about my new master body I'm preparing for from when this issue about the pandemic situation around the world will be done, because currently I am in another very far away place from my production point, so I just can't be here modeling like hell, modeling day and night, and producing new items that probably will be produced in resin like a trans kit in the future, So this is one of them, and I have several to show you in these videos. And this model is related to an RWB, RWB Griff. It's a Japanese conversion body for Porsche 911 to make them something different, to them they look much more badass and wide body versions, Rowelt is I think nearly 20 years now around, and they make incredibly nice racing inspired look cars with extra wide flares and retaking mostly the part of the body of the historical Porsches into something that is much more just like street tuning. They are not properly race cars. There is some people that race with them around the world, but they are meant like tuning mostly, very heavy tuning over the Porsche 911. So they started making years ago. The first one that I've seen around, at least from what I know, it was an RWB 993 based on the 993 body, similar in the look to the GT2 version, but much wider, And that model in 1/24 scale have been made by Chris Hales from C1 Models, and it was a very nice model. I had the opportunity to build it up. I made it in a green version, super Musashi car. Every owner probably give his own name about the car that they own. And basically it's Nakai-san is the guy that made this conversion, cutting the original flares of the car and make a huge modification to the setup and to the dimensions in the width of the car, because they became incredibly larger than the original model to whom they are referred. So they started with that 993 RWB, and then they made the RWB based on the 964, and the latest I've seen it is this one that is named the Zweitentwicklung. That is basically means the second development, and it is based on the 911S or T version, that was the very first model of Porsche 901 with the arrows integrated into the front bumpers. Sorry, not integrated into the front bumpers like in the following series, like in the G series, for example, that is the typical 911SC. And also the rear is particular because they had a kind of very different rear bumper that retakes in some way what we see with Porsche 356, And this was the latest version I've seen about RWB, and it was interesting because they really take the overall 60s look of the car, but reworked in a much more modern way, and the car look extremely nice and extremely aggressive, because the lines of the 911 is always kept pure, they didn't work so much on the pillars, on the doors and so on. They just worked around the fenders to make them very big, and retaking the look of the RSR or the racing models of these 911s, So what I basically did here, it was a conversion, it was a master. This is the master for the conversion, meant to be used over the only model kit we have in 1/24 scale. That is the Fujimi kit, is the only company that provide this version with this type of front arrow, then I want to see when I will cast this body, because I also have the possibility to make transparent parts. Of course they are never in the quality as the styrene part you get in the kit, so that's why I never provide until today windshields or side windows, because they are always better molded in the ordinary styrene plastic we find in boxes, instead of the resin. But we will see about this arrow, because this can be a problematic point for the people that don't have this kit. I think many could have in the stash, because it's a model that they just reissued a few years ago, you know, so I was working with a reissue from Fujimi, so it was not one of the original very nice boxes of the Enthusiast model. They just did, I think it was around the 80s, you know, or the 90s. Anyway, it was something to show you if we can. There we go. The original box I was working was this reissue, if you can see that. This reissue. As you see, there is a guy, maybe from a cartoon or whatever, but it's the reissue from Fujimi. They call it that series number 3. They re-edited probably with some issues around the royalties of this model. All this series of Enthusiast model kit, they were fantastic because they provide a lot of extra details inside the box. So it's really a journey into the production of the 911. So I think many modelers around the world can already have this this nice box, you know, in this version or in the original one if you don't want to build it. And my trans kit is meant basically like an entire body. So what I will produce will be the entire body with the ducktail and the wheels, you know, and will be fitted over like I did here for the video purpose, to use the under chassis coming directly from the Fujimi box. You see it's white plastic, so it's exactly that part from the box I showed you before, and it's meant just to be used with that kind of box. Of course, being a curbside model, mostly a curbside model, you know, because I think in reality the real cars made in this version by RWB are anyway 964. There was one Japanese car or Taiwanese car that is plated 964, so I guess under the real body it was coming from a 964 car, so it was a car of the middle 90s, you know, and quite modern also for the time, so it was absolutely newer stuff. It was not really the original first issue of the 911. And so probably I will also add a racing seat and probably a different steering wheel, because inside the box anyway you have a lot of options to do this kind of 911, you know. What else to say? I mean, I prepared also it was made by Andrew Z. Andrea is one of my very big colleague making this kind of works. He's incredibly skilled, and this was a test we made for the basic livery of this RWB. The model was referred to the blue car that I want to show you during the building process, you know, or maybe you place a picture also inside my video to show what I mean, but sure you understand what I mean. And this car featured the blue Rauwelt band over the front windshield and the two side RWB writing and around the door. This one in the demo printing is a little too wide, so we made them a little more smaller and thinner here, as well as the front Porsche logo is probably smaller than this one. This is a 3mm, I think I stay around the 2.5mm. And in the decal sheet we will provide also the back writing RWB Zweitentwicklung here, as well as the idlers, because this tire usually have that white idlers over the tire. It's printed over. I don't know absolutely what it is either, but all of them have it. And also the RWB band is provided in white, so if you make a car that is in a dark color or black or blue or whatever, and you would like to place the RWB stripe on a side, or if you have another RWB that you want to build up, you can use absolutely these other bands together with the ordinary silver Rauwelt for the main windshield, you know. My idea to make an entire body will be probably a little pricey at the end, because, you know, when I cast these bodies, the prices for the quality that I want is a little bit high every time. But I prefer really to do something in this way, because I worked in the past with some companies that I don't want to mention, but you understand what I'm referring to, that they made the body for RWB, for Rauwelt, just providing the side fenders to be placed over the plastic body that you can find in model kits, and it was really a pain, because to find the proper line, the proper point where to place the fenders, one of the boxes that I worked with, they were also a little wrapped, so it was a little tricky to make them fit properly. It was really a pain. So my idea was, if I will ever produce a model by my own, it has to be a complete body. So you take the body and the body fits perfectly, giving you immediately the proper setup, you know, with a very extremely low front spoiler in the front, and the height of the car is absolutely the proper one compared to picture, and the overall setup should be taken in this way like it is, you know. I think it's very interesting model, something different, you know, that any lovers of 911 will surely keep for his own collection. I absolutely will build several cars of this nice 911S. So that's it. I hope this will be a production during 2021, 2022. I don't know, it really depends, because currently it's absolutely messy and tricky plan something even from so far away from my usual production facility, you know, that I have in Italy. So I'm here and I will go on producing this kind of stuff and try to show you. Hope you like the video, guys. Remember to subscribe, and see you in the next one.